what are the 49ers in relation to everybody else? It's easy to say the 49ers are awesome. It's easy to say they're undefeated, but where exactly do they rank out of 32 teams? So keep in mind all these ranks are out of 32. So let's start with the offense. And again, let's do the top ones first. They are number one in the NFL. They haven't thrown an interception yet, so they're first in interceptions. First in rushing touchdowns with 4, averaging 2 a game. First in yards per rush. That is not normal. They're usually up there in rush yards, not yards per rush. They're usually efficient. They're usually not the best at yards per rush. This is a CMC effect. This is Jake Brendel stepping his game up. He's been awesome in the run game. George Kittle being absolutely out of his freaking mind blocking. 5.6 yards per rush. That is stupid. Now, you could say, well, those 2 giant CMC runs kind of skewed things. Yes, they did. But same with every team. It all goes together. If the Niners could stay up there at yards per rush, you're talking, you're the 1 seed. I guarantee it. Like, that's, if Shanahan can keep that, because usually Shanahan's a little lower on yards per rush because he runs so often. You keep that up there, your top 3 there, Niners blowing people out, period. First and fourth down percentage, only got it once, went for it once, so 100%. Shanahan did try to go for it again on fourth down, but then they reversed the Ayuk catch, and so then he went with the field goal. But I'm telling you, Shanahan Onions 2023, it's happening. Third in points scored, 60. You average 30 points a game. You scored 30 points a game. Third in rush yards. Third in average start field position. We're starting at the 34.8, and all that has to do with is the turnovers. That's huge. Defensive 3 and outs, getting stops on fourth down, which we'll talk about here in a second, things like that. Third in scoring per drive, 54% of the time you score when your offense touches the ball. That's huge. So you're scoring every other time you touch the ball with just a little extra. That is third best. Fifth in yards per pass, 7.1. That's a Shanahan staple. It's always above 6.7, which is always top 10. Sixth in turnovers. We've only lost 1 turnover. Seventh in total yards. Seventh in rush attempts. That's huge. Let's flip it, go to the defensive side, then we'll get to some more questions. Shout out to the man Clayton. He's crushing it behind the scenes. The mad scientist. He's the best there is. Defensive ranks out at 32. Second with 4 interceptions. Second. Really, really high up there. But Cowboys going ham over there. Second in rush attempts. There's only been 32 rush attempts against us because you're blowing people out. Teams have to pass at the end to try to catch up. That's happened both games now. Third in total points, only allowed 30. We're scoring 30 a game. We've given up 30 total. That's awesome. You're doubling up on them. That's a 2-to-1 point differential. That's scary. That is scary football. Third in rush yards allowed. Fourth in average start. They're starting on the 25.1. That's great. Jake Moody didn't kick that ball out of the end zone. We might be even higher than that. Sixth in turnovers, we forced 4, all interceptions. Sixth in yards per pass, 4.6. Seventh and fourth down percentage. We have stopped 2 out of 5. That's pretty awesome. And so whenever we look at those things, just kind of, we scoop back and we look at the NFL for what it is. The Niners at the top offensively, the Niners at the top defensively, period. That's all there is to it. Definitely top 5 offense, definitely a top 5 defense. You play that way, complementary football, you're going to win some damn games. That's just the way the NFL works. And the NFL and the Niners just continue to do their thing. And I know somebody's like, "Oh, what about the second half? What about the first half? What about the first half?" The adjustments are key. Listen to Fred Warner, Mr. Handsome himself, talking about the adjustments they made.
I think overall, just kind of trying to get more stickier in coverage, trying to pressure Stafford a little more. Trying to eliminate the run game. I feel like they, in the first half, that run game kept them ahead of the sticks a lot. They were taking what we were giving them. We had to tighten things up in the back end and try to make it a little bit harder on Stafford.
And it showed. And I'll say this, one of the things that kind of got me pretty bad was you see a quick out route. We're running cover 3. We're running quarters. Cornerbacks have to back up in that scheme. And we break it down on our film. hits just a real quick out. Right after that, we're pressing our corners. And so it's not like we just kept doing the same thing. That's not what it was. And the film showed, man, they're making adjustments. Just Stafford and McVay were in their bag the first half. Second half, they were not. Oh, we got a super chat. What's up, man? James Montgomery, thank you so much for your generosity. Appreciate that. He says, with the cap space we have, high percentage we make a trade or two before the deadline. You're the GM. What do you want? What do you think the Niners want? I think I would argue this is going to probably come off conceited, but hey, let's just do it. I think I agree with what the Niners' philosophy is here. You keep that money in your back pocket as an ace in the hole. Ideally, you do not want to have to trade a bunch of assets to get players this year. That's not what you want to do. You need to keep as many of those draft picks as possible to counterbalance the high cap hits that you're going to have with all these studs that you've signed. You still got to sign Brandon Ayuk. Now, if something goes bad, injury wise, somebody doesn't show out, whatever else, then you can now go and grab somebody, trade somebody near the trade deadline. I don't think that the Niners are going to actively pursue anybody now unless somebody starts to sell cheap. That kind of is what the Niners do. So once some of these teams get kind of completely cleared out of the playoff picture and they're just in complete rebuild mode during the season, poach a player or two for a fifth, a sixth rounder, things like that, and some expiring contracts. That's what I expect the Niners to do. I don't want to go ham for anybody out there right now. I really, really don't. Because I think the Niners got something really, really good going. Isaiah Oliver, he was awful. He was awful all training camp. He was awful all of preseason. He was awful week one. He was awful the first half of this game. Second half of the game, he just went out there and balled out. He was incredible. And so I just, man, I don't even know if you win this game without Isaiah Oliver. So now I want to see. Ambry Thomas is injured. We got to see it. And, you got one more corner injury. Now, corner's an issue because with Samuel Womack out, he's going on IR. I don't know about Ambry Thomas. You get Darrell Luter back week 5. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So if another corner injury happened, then I'm going after a corner. Right now, you just wait and see because whatever money you don't spend goes to the future. You don't lose it; it rolls over, and you just keep pushing that forward to maintain the integrity of this team and keep all these stars together. Brandon Ayuk's not going anywhere. Any of that stuff. Niners Nation says, can Bradley Roby, La'el Collins, and Jordan Willis to fill positions depth for a cheaper than a trade? Those are all experienced vets that you got to pay top tier money to. Probably doing 1-year deals. And so, yes, you could bring all those guys in and it would provide depth, veteran depth, which is awesome and very valuable. But I mean, La'el Collins ain't playing for less than $5 or $6 million a year. Roby's going to be $2 to $3 million a year. Like those guys cost money. And do you want any of them taking snaps over your current guys? I'm going to say no. McKivitz has done his job. Yeah, the TJ Watt game, whatever. I get that. I'm not sure Lyle's going to be much better. So I want to stay the course until a red flag arises before the trade deadline, and then we can see. Now, if you get a great value deal and somebody comes calling like, man, we see you got all these picks. We just need picks, man. Now let's talk. Right now, nobody's doing that because even the 0-2 teams, the teams that suck in the NFL, I got the list up somewhere. Good Lord. Like they're not done. The Patriots are 0-2. You think they're selling? No. Bengals 0-2. No. Like these teams are not selling. You got people like the Houston Texans, they're probably done. The Bears, they're probably already done. You know what I mean? Like those type of teams, but they're not selling off cheap assets yet. You got to wait a little longer. Got to wait a little longer till it's 100% transparent. So I don't think that's changing anytime soon. But Niners have room. They like what they have. And yes, we lost a corner. You bring in a corner. I don't want to spend a lot of money. So if Roby wants to come in on a cheap deal, cool, let's keep him. But if not, we got Darrell Luter Jr. coming back in 3 weeks. I'm cool with that. We need somebody as a backup for sure. Now you lost Q Knight. Yeah, another one down, right? So we'll get there. But I want to listen to a quick clip. This is Kyle Shanahan talking about Isaiah Oliver, and I just think this is so awesome.
He was a stud today. I mean, I got to watch the whole tape to get through all of it, but I know he's made some huge plays. Drove them on an out of bounds route when we were in quarters, which was good. The 4th and 1 was huge because it's a Tampa 2 look, which he's walked on the slot, and that's a far away from the B gap, and he didn't hesitate, had a big time tackle, and then him getting the pick. So especially with some of our DBs getting banged up throughout the game, those guys had to step it up because they were kind of all over the place, and he did a great job at that.
And that's huge. His first half was awful. Missed tackle on a player that was already on his knees. Face mask, free first down, just off the line because his hands were wild. You never put your hands up as a corner. It was just a dumb move. The touchdown run, he sat there flat-footed for 2 seconds after the snap and never moved. And it was just, man, I walked away from that first half breakdown just like, how the hell did this dude make so many big plays in the second half? Because that was trash. But he got thrown in there first half, flustered, terrible, played out of discipline, played lackadaisical, comes out second half. I don't know if the 49ers win that game without him. Like, that's how impactful he was. So maybe the switch was flipped, and maybe the pressure is relieved, and maybe now he can just go play with his hair on fire and just go make plays. I hope that's the case. I really, really do. Because with Womack out, I mean, Trace Welling's the next guy up. He's the next guy up outside and inside. That's not the vote of confidence that I think people want. It's not the vote of confidence that I think people want, but we'll see. We'll see kind of how that goes.
The 49ers Rush Podcast.